There is an extraordinary power contained within the ancient sacred scriptures that transcends generations and continues to transform lives to this day. Among all the known Psalms, Psalm 66 stands out as a powerful spiritual tool, capable of breaking the most difficult bonds and opening paths that seem completely impossible. Many people around the world have experienced profound changes in their lives through the recitation and meditation of this specific psalm, reporting unexpected deliverance, doors miraculously opening, and surprising solutions appearing out of nowhere. The history of Psalm 66 dates back to ancient times, when the people of Israel faced immense challenges and constantly sought divine protection and guidance. This psalm was written as a song of praise and gratitude, but it also carries a transformative energy that goes beyond simple words. It speaks of the people's deliverance through the sea, of difficult trials, and of divine faithfulness in moments of extreme hardship. When we read each verse carefully, we realize that it is not merely a historical text, but a spiritual key that can be applied to the most complicated situations we face today. Many people turn to this psalm when they have exhausted all other options. They have tried everything to solve their problems, sought professional help, talked to friends and family, made plans upon plans, but nothing seemed to work. It is at that moment of despair and apparent hopelessness that Psalm 66 reveals itself as a beacon of hope. The bonds it can break are not only physical or material but also emotional, spiritual, and psychological. They are those situations that seem to keep us trapped in a vicious cycle, preventing our progress and happiness. There are impressive accounts of people who were trapped in addictions for years and, after beginning to pray Psalm 66 daily with faith and devotion, were completely set free. Other testimonies tell of financial problems that seemed unsolvable, debts that had spiraled out of control, and job opportunities that never came. After incorporating this psalm into their spiritual practices, doors began to open in totally unexpected ways. Job offers appeared out of nowhere, financial solutions emerged through people or situations they would never have imagined, and a sense of peace began to replace constant anxiety. Psalm 66 is also known for its effectiveness in breaking bonds related to relationships. Many people live in toxic or destructive relationships and, no matter how much they want to break free, feel as if something invisible keeps them trapped in that situation. It may be fear, emotional dependence, psychological manipulation, or even negative spiritual influences. The power contained in this psalm acts precisely on those invisible ties, bringing mental clarity, emotional strength, and the courage to make necessary decisions. People who once felt incapable of ending harmful relationships report that, after a few weeks of praying Psalm 66, they felt an inner strength they never knew they had. One of the most fascinating aspects of this psalm is its ability to open impossible paths. We all, at some point in life, face situations that seem to have no way out. It could be a serious illness, a complicated legal case, a long-standing family conflict, or professional goals that seem unattainable. Psalm 66 works in these situations by creating synchronicities, attracting the right people, and opening opportunities where there once were only walls. It is not about instant magic, but about a process of spiritual alignment that begins to reorganize the circumstances around us. The way this psalm is recited also makes a difference in the results obtained. It is not enough to simply read the words mechanically and without involvement. It is necessary to create a proper environment, calm the mind, connect with the intention behind the words, and allow the energy of the psalm to penetrate deeply into the heart. Many people prefer to pray Psalm 66 at specific times of the day, such as at dawn or before bed, when the mind is more receptive and less burdened by daily concerns. Others light candles, burn incense, or create small altars to establish a sacred space dedicated to this spiritual practice. There are several stories circulating about the extraordinary effects of Psalm 66. One of them tells of a woman who was about to lose her home because she could not pay the mortgage. She had exhausted all possibilities of obtaining a loan, her family could not help her, and the final deadline was approaching quickly. Someone told her about the power of Psalm 66 to open impossible paths. Although initially skeptical, she decided to try it since she had nothing left to lose. For 30 days she recited the psalm every morning with fervor and faith. On the 28th day she received an unexpected phone call from a former co-worker who had heard about her situation through mutual acquaintances. This colleague had recently received an inheritance and, moved by her situation, offered to lend her the necessary amount under extremely favorable conditions. The woman managed to save her home and later repaid the loan in full. Another remarkable story involves a man who was facing an unjust legal case. He had been falsely accused of something he did not commit, but all the evidence seemed to conspire against him. His lawyers were pessimistic about the outcome of the trial. In his anguish, he began to pray Psalm 66 daily, asking for the truth to come to light and for justice to prevail. During the trial, a completely unexpected witness appeared and presented evidence that unquestionably proved his innocence. The case was dismissed and he was fully exonerated. For him and everyone who witnessed the case, it was nothing short of a direct miracle. Psalm 66 has also been used by people seeking physical or emotional healing. There are reports of individuals suffering from chronic illnesses who, while continuing their conventional medical treatments, incorporated the recitation of this psalm into their healing routine. Many experienced significant improvements that even surprised their doctors. We are not suggesting that the psalm should replace proper medical treatment, but there is a growing recognition that faith, hope, and spiritual practices can complement physical treatments in powerful and scientifically documented ways. The bonds that Psalm 66 can break also include negative mental patterns and limiting beliefs that prevent us from moving forward. Often we are our own jailers, trapped in thoughts of self-sabotage, low self-esteem, fear of failure, or even fear of success. These patterns are formed over years through traumatic experiences, limiting upbringing, or repeated disappointments. The psalm acts as a tool for mental and spiritual reprogramming, helping to dissolve these invisible chains we build around ourselves. People struggling with depression, severe anxiety, or past traumas report feeling progressive lightness as they consistently maintain the practice of reciting this psalm. A businessman on the brink of bankruptcy shared his transformative experience with Psalm 66. His business was collapsing, debts were piling up, employees had to be laid off, and he saw no light at the end of the tunnel. His mental health was deteriorating rapidly, and he was considering giving up everything. That was when his grandmother, a woman of deep faith, introduced him to Psalm 66. Initially resistant to spiritual approaches, he finally agreed to try it out of respect for her. To his surprise, after a few days of recitation, he began to have creative ideas he had never considered before. One of these ideas involved completely changing his business model. He implemented the changes with the last energy he had left, and within a few months, the company not only recovered but began to thrive in ways he had never imagined. The practice of Psalm 66 has also been associated with spiritual protection. Many people believe that there are negative energies, whether from envious individuals, bad thoughts directed at us, or harmful spiritual influences. This psalm creates a kind of protective shield around us, driving away these influences and keeping our energy clean and elevated. People who worked in toxic environments full of gossip, destructive competitiveness, and heavy energy reported feeling more protected and less affected by these influences after incorporating Psalm 66 into their morning routines. There are also stories about how this psalm has helped people find lost objects, resolve complicated bureaucratic issues that seemed unsolvable, and even reconcile family relationships that had been broken for years. A mother shared how she was able to reconcile with her daughter after 10 years of silence through the daily recitation of Psalm 66. She didn't force any contact. She simply prayed the psalm with the intention that the path between them would be cleared and that love would prevail over resentment. After 3 months of consistent practice, it was the daughter herself who took the initiative to make contact, and the reconciliation process began naturally and deeply emotionally. Psalm 66 teaches us about gratitude and the recognition of blessings, even in the midst of difficulties. This is a crucial part of its power. When we recite the psalm, we are not only asking for help but also acknowledging the divine presence in our lives and expressing gratitude for the deliverances already received. This attitude of gratitude is, in itself, transformative. It changes our energetic vibration, attracts more positive things into our lives, and helps us notice opportunities and blessings that previously went unnoticed. Many people combine the recitation of Psalm 66 with other spiritual practices, such as meditation, fasting, charity, or acts of kindness. This combination amplifies the effects of the psalm, creating an even stronger energetic field around the person. A young man trying to overcome drug addiction combined the daily recitation of Psalm 66 with professional therapy and participation in support groups. He attributes his successful recovery to this integrated approach, where the spiritual aspect worked in harmony with practical and psychological treatments. Today, years later, he is sober, has rebuilt his life, and helps others facing similar challenges. The power of Psalm 66 does not discriminate by religion, race, age, or social condition. People from different spiritual and cultural backgrounds have experienced its benefits. Although it has Judeo-Christian origins, its universal energy transcends religious boundaries. What matters is the sincerity of faith, the purity of intention, and the consistency of practice. It is not necessary to be a scholar of sacred texts or have deep theological knowledge. The psalm works through the simple and genuine faith of those who recite it with an open heart. Some people develop the habit of writing Psalm 66 by hand as a form of active meditation and deeper connection with the sacred words. The act of slowly writing each verse allows the mind to focus more fully on the meaning and energy of each phrase. This practice can also be done during periods of spiritual fasting or personal retreat, when one seeks a more intense connection with the divine. Some keep these handwritten copies in special places in their homes as visual reminders of the power available to them through this psalm. It is important to mention that Psalm 66, like any spiritual tool, is not a magic wand that instantly solves everything without any effort on our part. It works in harmony with our actions, decisions, and willingness to change. If someone is stuck in a bad job, praying Psalm 66 will help open doors, but the person will still need to send out resumes, attend interviews, and be willing to make changes. If someone is in a toxic relationship, the psalm will provide strength and clarity, but that person must decide to leave and take the practical steps necessary. The divine works through us, not in our place. Another important aspect is patience and perseverance. Some people see results quickly, while others need to maintain the practice for weeks or even months before noticing significant changes. This does not mean that the psalm is not working. Often, deep spiritual work happens in layers, and internal changes must occur before external changes can manifest. The key is to keep faith and consistency, even when it seems that nothing is happening. It is precisely in moments of greatest doubt that our commitment to spiritual practice becomes most important. Some people prefer to recite Psalm 66 in its original language, Hebrew, believing that the ancient words carry specific energetic vibrations. Others prefer to use translations in Portuguese or in their native language to fully understand the meaning of each word. Both approaches are valid. The most important thing is that the person feels connected to the words and recites them with conscious intention. Audio versions of the psalm are also available for those who prefer to listen and meditate, especially useful for people with reading difficulties or during times when reading is not possible, such as while commuting. A teacher shared how Psalm 66 completely transformed the atmosphere in her classroom. She worked with troubled teenagers in a rough neighborhood school, where violence, disrespect, and learning difficulties were constant. Feeling helpless and exhausted, she began reciting Psalm 66 every morning before going to school, asking for paths to be opened so her students could learn and grow. Gradually, she began to notice subtle changes. Students who were extremely aggressive began to calm down. Others who never paid attention started to show interest, and the overall environment improved significantly. She attributes this transformation not only to the psalm but also to the change that occurred within herself. More patience, more love, more hope, which was then reflected in her students. Psalm 66 has also been used by people facing complex legal issues, from child custody disputes to inheritance problems or labor cases. The complexity of the legal system often leaves people feeling helpless and out of control of their own lives. Reciting this psalm brings a sense that there is a higher justice at work, beyond human courts, and that truth will eventually prevail. Lawyers report astonishing cases where crucial evidence appeared at the last minute, unexpected witnesses came forward, or judges made decisions that went against all expectations but ultimately resulted in true justice being served. For those who are just beginning to work with Psalm 66, it is recommended to establish a consistent routine. Choose a specific time of day that works best for you. It could be early in the morning, during lunch, or before bed. Create a small ritual around this practice. Light a candle, play soft background music, sit comfortably, and take a few deep breaths before you begin. Read or recite the psalm slowly, allowing each word to resonate within you. After finishing, spend a few minutes in silence, visualizing your bindings being broken and paths opening before you. End with a prayer of gratitude, giving thanks even before seeing the manifested results. It's also worth mentioning that Psalm 66 is not only for times of crisis or difficulty. It can also be used as a preventive and spiritual maintenance practice. Many people who have experienced its power during hard times continue to recite it regularly even after their problems are resolved, as a way to remain spiritually connected and prevent new bindings from forming. It's like regularly tending to a garden. It's much easier to maintain harmony than to wait for weeds to take over before acting. There are also reports of significant dreams and deep insights that arise during the period of working with Psalm 66. Some people wake up with clear solutions to problems that had troubled them for months. Others have dreams in which they receive specific guidance about what steps to take. These phenomena suggest that the psalm works not only on the physical and material plane but also on the deeper levels of our consciousness, accessing inner wisdom that is usually blocked by our daily worries and mental noise. One often overlooked aspect is that when we ask for bindings to be broken and paths to be opened, we must be prepared for the changes that will come. These changes are not always comfortable at first. Sometimes the answer to our prayer comes in the form of the end of a harmful relationship, the loss of a job that was holding us back, or the distancing of toxic people from our lives. These changes may seem painful in the moment, but with time we realize they were exactly what we needed to move forward toward something better. Psalm 66 invites us to trust the process, even when we don't fully understand what is happening. This trust is, in itself, a powerful act of faith. In a society that values control, meticulous planning, and certainty, learning to let go and trust that there is a higher order working in our favor is revolutionary. This surrender is not passivity but a form of deep spiritual activism. We recognize that we do our part, but we also trust that forces beyond our full understanding are conspiring for our good. In conclusion, Psalm 66 is much more than ancient words in a sacred text. It is a living tool, a portal of energy, a channel of connection with the divine that remains as powerful today as it was thousands of years ago. Whether you are facing bindings in relationships, finances, health, career, or any other area of life, this psalm offers renewed hope and a practical path toward transformation. The key is to approach it with sincerity, faith, consistency, and an open heart ready to receive the blessings that will surely come. Thousands of people around the world have already experienced its power. Perhaps it is your turn to witness the impossible becoming possible in your own life.